This conference will now be recorded.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, first up tonight, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of our regular meeting from April of 2023. Second? Rick, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. No one opposed, carried. Is anyone either on screen or in the audience have anything they'd like to put in front of the board tonight? Fred? Yep.
Okay, well, I've been an attendee of many public board meetings, and one of the things I'd like to ask the board to consider tonight as a potentially standard operating procedure is when things are first added to the agenda, if they are not pressing items, I would like to ask that you consider putting them on the agenda for the first meeting, having a discussion, but not necessarily taking a vote at that night and putting it off until the following month. This way, the public can be fully informed of the issue, because a lot of these things often come up. You don't know about it till you see the agenda within a couple of days, like I did. So, for example, this Roost request for continuing to maintain the community tourism enhancement funds would be a good example of that. So I would like to ask the board to consider putting a vote off tonight. It seems to me that the request itself is kind of vague. I have talked to a number of board members. In fact, I spoke with Jason Leon just a little while ago, and he said he can't make it tonight because he's still recovering. And since he's not here, he told me he had some concerns about oversight of these funds, for example. So I think it'd be great if the board could wait till you have the full board to meet and vote. But in my view, a public entity like Roost is not accountable to the public. They're a public entity, they have a board, they have members. And in my view, that I don't think public funds should ever be maintained in a fund by a private organization. Frankly, I can't think of other examples of where that is. But I also understand that this is something that the county, Essex County, has decided. And so that's what you have to deal with. But I think it would be good if you got some more numbers. Like, for example, percentage of these funds will be secured in interest-bearing account for capital projects. I mean, it would be great if those kind of numbers could be easily available to the public. This arrangement has been going on, I guess, for a couple of years now. So it would be nice to know, well, how is Roost actually manage these funds, and what kind of interest has accrued and those kind of things. I also question whether there's a need for a 5-year agreement. I just think you're sort of tying your hands with a 5-year agreement. Why not make it renewable every year? So, again, it's a private entity and not accountable to the public. The original bed tax law included the Lake Placid Essex County Visitors Bureau in the law, which I was told was highly irregular. And so I just think it would be better from a public policy standpoint to take a little time with this, ask for more figures from Roost, and keep the agreement to 1 year. Thank you very much.
Anybody want to go before I do in response?
Go for it.
First of all, Fred, there is a long-standing relationship with Roost, and the core contract, if you will, from the county to Roost has been a successful venture in this area for many, many years. Many of the concerns you're bringing to tonight suggest that you feel you haven't known what goes on from Roost in their allocation of funds. I guess I'll only respond since occupancy tax came into money. We'll leave the 95% of it out, but Roost's overall marketing and dedication to this area is exemplary. That's my personal opinion. As far as the 2% occupancy tax and this contract you're referring to, that is one of the first items on our agenda tonight. We feel as a board that our continued relationship with Roost is imperative to the success of how we distribute those monies. We control every nickel of that money. But Roost has agreed to be, let's say, an accountant for us. Because as distribution has changed from the county, we now receive the money directly from the county, the occupancy tax money, and have chosen, at least for this near term, to continue the success of the LEAF committee and the aspect that this town board now has the ability each year, and you mentioned capital funding. We recognize that moving down the road, now that we have been very successful in granting money to many not-for-profits, we recognize other bigger projects that are equally as important on a much bigger scale. So to kind of cut to the chase, it will work something like this. When we get, we will receive funds from the county twice a year now. And at those times, we will determine as a board, for instance, let's say we're going to accrue $800,000. We may very well say, we want $200,000 to be administered by LEAF, a very dedicated group of businesses, school reps, the whole bit, that have a much organized approach that we don't have as a group. It is a very committed group to finding needed avenues for this money. On the other hand, we may very well say, we're going to take $500,000 and let's say, for instance, our childcare research goes somewhere and we need to start an allocated fund to move that forward. That's a major capital project. A parking garage is a major capital project. So there are many aspects of retaining Roost that helps us tremendously. It doesn't mean that we don't have the auspices to keep track of that money ourselves. It's just that we have a very proven group to help us administer this money. So, and I'm open to other comments from board members. As far as us moving too fast on voting on things, between our work sessions and our agenda items, I don't feel we move too fast. Leaving things on the docket for an extra month, if there's something serious like the effort we went through on STR, our new STR permit process, yeah, that took 7 months. But any of these monthly items we do, we don't run them through the mill too fast. At least I don't feel we do. And this board is very good about saying, listen, I got a concern here, I got a concern there. As far as you're talking with Jason about this issue, I believe Jason wasn't even here for our first go around on it. And unfortunately, because of his back surgery, he's not here tonight.
Right.
And Jason's good about sending in concerns to us, so we are not neglecting his opinion at all. So respectfully, unless something really rises to the top where people feel they're being left out, we're going to continue the same process we're on.
Yeah, I just want to expand upon that a little bit, Fred. And expand upon it, not you just add to it. You know, one of your initial concerns was, as Derek said, speeding things through. And our workshops, that's the venue where we do most of the discussion, and then we just approve them or disapprove them at the meeting. And granted, there aren't as many people at the workshop online or present, but they're recorded and everything. People can go back and be prepared and hear watch our discussion on these topics. And it's always been, I mean, I haven't, Derek's been around a long time, the rest of us haven't. But the point is, the purpose of the workshop is to discuss it, bring everything to the meeting and bing, bing, bing. We're not avoiding anything or pushing anything through, but we have already discussed it and on a public venue. It's not like, we got together on a Wednesday afternoon, or excuse me, wrong day, because that's what it is. On a Saturday afternoon, it's just us and said, we're going to do this. We have discussed 100% of these items, if not in a meeting, most of it in the workshop. So we're prepared a week later to make it. And the public can see, again, can view these recorded workshops and say, okay.
They can come to a workshop.
They can come to a workshop. But if they can't, if they chose, they can only come once a month or something, virtually or whatever. But the point is, we have discussed it openly in public. And it isn't like, oh yeah, now we're going to just make a quick decision.
But I also would say that there's still discussion that happens at this level.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is the more public
Oh,
forum.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so it's maybe like the big picture items this type of topic is perfect for a board meeting.
Yeah.
This is not a perfect topic for a work session. Like work session is where the details are, we dive
That's
into
it.
details, and anyone would be bored to death to attend one of our workshops. But that's kind of the intention.
We're bored of that. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that you work through all those details and
Yes.
then you come here with a product to be discussed on the higher level.
Right.
The only thing I was gonna say is that this is not a contract, it is simply an MOU saying that we will move forward with developing a contract. So to me, there's nothing that binding about it, but I support what the MOU says, with the exception that it says capital reserves, and I feel like we can take that out and tweak that to say something like follows the guidelines as
County is.
County,
Yeah.
yeah.
and because of the county, I'm sure will at times change their guidelines too. So it needs some wordsmithing, but it's also not really a legal document. It's just something to say, let's move forward with
Let's
this.
move forward and then come up with it. Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Not to beat that to death, but I feel completely comfortable, I'm the new person here, but completely comfortable in saying, can we table this until, this particular item is exactly that, an MOU, and the contract is yet to be written or drawn up. So, one of the proposals that I'll be making when we're doing that is, if we do have a 5-year agreement, perhaps having some language in there that says, reviewed on an annual basis. So that, that holds us accountable to review it on an annual basis. And if we deem that any changes need to be made, great. That's my opinion. I'm not sure if anybody feels the same.
I think
way.
it's a valid opinion.
Well, that's the point. There's, we did a lot, now we're gonna do more.
Yeah. And I think as a follow-up to that, and because Fred brought this issue up now, it's a good segue right into our, our first agenda item about Roost. I think it would be wise on our part to consider a more or less legal document.
Something more than what is in the packet.
Correct.
Yeah. And in fact, coincidentally, MJ's here, and whether we work together or one side or the other drafts something that kind of satisfies concerns on both sides.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Sure.
We can just, between the two lawyers, can pass back and forth until we have a document.
Sure.
Right.
Can your team of staff attorneys put that together?
Yeah, we can see.
Could you put maybe half of those on it, please?
Yes, and I agree with all that you're saying, that I do agree it needs wordsmithing. I think that that's appropriate to review it annually. And again, this is just an understanding that we're going to move forward to the next thing.
Exactly.
That everyone's on board to move forward to drafting a contract,
Right.
a binding contract.
Correct.
Did it help you, Fred, to learn that we have total discretion on those funds?
Yes, it did, but can I just say, for example, the language here says, the benefit of Roost maintaining the CTEF funds. First bullet point is to ensure long-term that the funds continue to be used as they were originally identified and agreed to by the lodging community. But if the town of North Elba is making all the decisions on the funds, that doesn't even seem to be a relevant bullet point.
Within guidelines that the county sets for us.
Fine, but I mean, you guys are making the decisions, right? Roost is just basically nominally having an account, and I don't even know why that's even
Well-
necessary, but,
With the help of the Leaf Committee as well.
well, the Leaf Committee is great. I love the
Yeah.
Leaf Committee. It was explained to me by Dick, and I
Yeah.
think it's great. It's very transparent, and you've got stakeholders from throughout the town of North Elba, so that's wonderful. The grants are wonderful. I was actually, with the original bed tax, I was an advocate of some of those funds to be used exactly for what I call tourism infrastructure in places like Jay, where I lived at the time, that had very little lodging or other tourism facilities, and I thought the bed tax should be used for that, some of that should be used for that, not just marketing, which was the decision that was made originally. So I think those are good things, but again, I just think from a public policy, there's some concerns. I also, when I spoke with Dick yesterday, I asked, well, does this need to be voted on tonight? Is there a real time factor? And I don't think you said that you were aware that there was.
No, but I mean, we like to do things, we don't want to push them through,
I understand,
but we don't want
I understand.
to put things
And
off
that's a
either.
good point about the workshops and all that.
Yeah.
And then the 5-year thing, again, I don't even see why you need to have a 5-year agreement if you do that in the contract. I would make it renewable to a year, but of course, that's up to you guys. So, thank you. I appreciate the ability to address the board and all your comments. Thank you. Thank you.
Any further discussion with the Roost issue? MJ?
No, again, this is to the next steps, and, I'm not needing to respond to Fred's comments, but
Okay,
I will just say that we're comfortable with the process that we have used for this community tourism enhancement fund. We think there's a lot of value to North Elba and to the county. The money is generated by tourism. We think that it's important that there continues to stay that connection to tourism. And over time, without, the proper oversight and agreements, there is the potential, not now, maybe not 5 years, even from maybe 10 years, that it ends up, going into a general fund, and that's not what the funds were meant for. So there's multiple ways to look at that. But for tonight's discussion, again, it's to agree to move forward to a binding contract that all parties can agree and be comfortable with.
agreed. For us right now, we feel a dedicated direction for the money makes sense. Okay. I'd like to have, maybe not quite as long a discussion, our lake patrol position. And as we've said before, huge thanks to the Rickert family for their years of service on the lake. We're in need to post a job opening, but really we need to go around the table and talk about how you see this position, as we've identified 2 different directions, maybe a combination of the 2. One being hiring a potential person with peace officer status that can actually write violations as opposed to an educational component. So we're really just a safety presence on the lake to stop people that might be abusing some of the laws or whatever. In my mind, I'm not sure which way we go. I will let you know, I have made 2 calls to DEC, to a new gal that took over for Megan LaPierre. I don't know if they moved or just were promoted, but she and her husband Joe are higher up now, so
Yeah.
that's not my contact. I was looking for educational materials and just what the waterway laws are as they stand now. Matt St. Louis is very versed in the laws and has offered to train if we get a new person that really doesn't know much. But I need your help in knowing how we're moving forward. I've outlined for you in the worksheet what we've budgeted, $4,600. And it's basically a 10 to 12 week program. That boils down to like $375 to $400 a week. I outlined for you the gas consumption.
Does anyone, okay, sorry, go ahead.
There we go.
Everyone disappeared. Sorry.
Which really is not that big a deal. But I guess you notice all the questions I asked. Are we looking for somebody that might put in 3 or 4 days a week with 1 day a weekend being mandatory? You gotta be out there when it's the busiest. Anyway, I'm sure you've read that. Give me a little feedback.
I've had an opportunity to speak with a few camp owners, boat owners,
Good.
some of whom have experienced contact with the Rickards. And all are very appreciative of the fact that they're informed and not automatically cited.
Right.
So I was honest and said, do you feel, like you can go back out and break the rules again? And absolutely not. And it really adds to the value of that position. And I think if we're budgeting the amount that you've stated, can we really expect somebody to be out there writing tickets, to be that qualified? And
Right.
I'm not out on the lake. I don't know if you are, Emily, much, or anybody, but is it mostly camp owners and locals? I don't think we get many tourists out on, other than the boat rental.
That's
Yeah, it's
the
really
only
simple.
one.
Yeah. And what is the process? Again, it's educational to me. What is the process if, I'm on the lake and I meet Emily 3 times in 2 nights doing the same thing? Do I then call DEC and say, this lady's breaking the law and needs to be accountable?
And actually, regulatory wise, DEC controls the waterways.
Right, yes.
It's really above and beyond our call.
Correct.
We provide what we do provide as a courtesy to the lake.
Right, and I think one thing we haven't touched on, and we know the procedure the way it should be, but we all have heard horror stories, but it's not, is when these companies, these services rent boats, water devices, they're supposed to educate. And if it's a busy day, they're not. We know that. I'm not saying every
And
instance.
provide everything on that boat
Right.
that is by the
So
law.
I think, in addition to having somebody on the water, we need to spend time initially, early in the season, and reinforce it during the year, of some of that time spent with these people that are renting and saying, just checking, are you continuing to do this? I don't care, in bottom line, it doesn't matter whether you're busy or not, you need to take the time to explain to these people the rules of the waterways.
So that leads into my next question, or go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, going back to Rick's question though, but I thought to a certain extent, even though Buzzy could not issue tickets, he could issue something. And I don't remember what the term is. It's not like he was completely, he could only just keep a warning, like, this is the 7th time I've seen you without a life jacket. I think at some point there was some, am I incorrect in that? It was nothing? Like,
I think you're right, I think there's something, but it's like non-binding.
yes, like.
In other words,
I think he can give them, it's a ticket.
Summons?
A summons,
Yeah.
but they could just not
I
show
don't know
up.
about that.
Well, Buzzy, I saw Buzzy a week ago, he told me that he could do that.
Oh, you could, okay,
Um,
okay.
But people don't necessarily show up for something.
Sure, right.
Which is not Buzzy's fault, it's everybody, that's just.
Right,
people
but then
don't
the
show up.
thing is, he could say, okay, take all the information down, persons, whatever, and almost just log it. And if
Which is
there's
what he
something,
does.
right, but and keep track if he's got a repeat offender.
So that leads into my next question that's directly associated with this. In the past, the town has always listed a number for the lake constable. I question whether we want to continue being a call-in service when somebody sees something out on the lake at 7:30 at night, or.
No, or like someone voting when intoxicated, that's a DEC.
Yeah, that's
So I
yeah.
mean, we shouldn't be a responder. If we're there for an educational presence.
Right.
I'm leery about putting a town employee or a contracted individual.
Right.
In that position.
Yeah, because that's a law enforcement issue, potentially,
You're right.
and they're not law enforcement at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
But you
That
should ask DEC what the right number is.
Yeah, exactly.
And I I assume one of these days soon I will get a response from this gal that's in charge of that department.
Yeah.
But, not to go back at Fred, but we're in some urgency to pass. We're some urgency to post this job.
Yeah, I think we should.
Do it, man, do it.
Yeah, I think what we have to do is, we've all talked to people that potentially might be interested in the position
Yeah,
and at varying amounts, 1 day a week, 3 days a week,
That's the thing. that has to be nailed
half
down.
the summer. So in other words, we have to post it, see what we get, and then determine
right.
a schedule or, hire people.
So the person I talked to was interested, but what is it? How
Yeah.
often do I
Yeah,
have to be out
that's,
there?
I've talked to two, and that's the same
Yeah.
thing.
So then, can we post something and just for interested parties and then, because I don't see a lot of people stepping up for this.
No, and I think we can just say, and I'm searching here, so please, anybody chime in, a couple of days, a week, or, it would require, we can look at a number, a couple, maybe 2 days a week, one being a weekend.
Well, it's out of the 12 weeks that I mapped out there,
Mhm.
we have 2 or 3 holidays, which are Mondays.
Right,
That's imperative.
Right.
1 day a weekend.
Yep.
And 1 day during the week, depending on weather. So if there were 3 days out there with a minimum of 3 hours on the water.
yeah. And maybe we may be surprised, because we talked about the fact that there may be somebody out there that's wanted to do this for years,
Right,
and because one of the records had the job, they didn't get it.
right,
So now there's maybe somebody out there when we post it going, oh man, I would love to do that.
yeah,
We don't know till we post it and just say,
And yeah, I think
Yeah.
you need to say weekend and holiday work required.
yes.
Anybody want to raise their hand to get this posted? That's, seeing how I'm gone for a couple of weeks.
Get the ad posted?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got your hand semi-raised, go ahead. You know,
Yeah, I can do it.
Go back in the archives and see what was
I-
posted last time.
It wasn't. Is that a joke? Did you know that?
Yeah. When you go from father to son, it's not,
Is grandfather involved?
We'll have to look at
So,
it.
do you want this cheat sheet or you have it in?
I said yes.
Oh, another one I owe you.
I've been in what fill stations, come on.
Oh, that's right.
Not stepping in.
See how quiet he's being in there?
Yeah, really. Everybody stepped backwards and I was left forward.
All right, so we at least have an initial plan moving forward.
Right.
We'll know better when we see who's interested.
But I'm just wondering, like, who's the contact person? Because what department is this under?
Tell them to call me.
May I ask a quick question?
Go ahead, Laura.
Yeah, just for clarification. Whoops, sorry. Shit. I remembered a village board. I wrote a note. It's in the chat.
Okay. Oh, you did? I don't, where is it?
No, chat's below.
Okay, there,
See,
There it is.
it's about the lean-to that the village approved for like a lake steward or something. Georgia Jones had arranged for money for that. How does this position relate to that? I think those are volunteers and it's about education.
Yeah, this is a paid contracted employee.
And
that
it's
we
more
pay
about enforcing regulations as opposed
It's
to,
mostly about life jackets.
right. Anyway, maybe they can work together. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and they're already, the people we're gonna talk to are pretty much already on the water and everything. Whereas this sounds more like education as they're entering,
Correct.
which is okay, but, talking at different times.
Right. Okay.
So just because I'm on the lake all summer, I will say a couple things is that it's not just the boat rentals. There's a lot of second homeowners that have kids on the lakes, and it's not just about the Light Fest, it's about them being reckless and.
Oh, water
you know,
skiing,
yeah,
yeah.
and there's like a lot of like, oh my God, someone's gonna get killed out there. So, and I think in the past, what we would see from the Rickards is they would they would cruise around the lake, not like one day a week, 3 hours, but they would be like times that would be busy, like the father would be out in the morning when there'd be water skiing, she needed 3 in a boat, and he'd always like nail people for only having 2 in a boat, right? And then,
Spotters, yeah.
right, spotters, and so, maybe it's more sporadic, because it's not gonna take anybody long to be like, there's nobody on the lake, it's Sunday.
Buzzy has offered to go with whoever we pick and do a crash course, as well as Matt St. Louis, that was Coast Guard before he came back.
But
to
I'm
town.
saying if you set that schedule, like it's one day a week and it's on a Saturday,
Then
then
they
it's
know when
not
they
gonna
can bring
take
their
long,
boats.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
for everybody on the lake to know that we can do whatever we want and I'm out here today.
No, we're just saying that if we find somebody, and we're hoping to find multiple people, the requirement would be to, be available, as Emily said, you'd be available to work weekends and holidays. And, if we find, I'm just saying, 3 people that are interested in doing it, they might be out there 4 days a week on a rotating basis.
And Buzzy was very diligent, but you, someone that's out on the lake a lot, it's just like, all you think of is just a matter of time. Between the boat rentals and the second homes, there's a lot of boats on that lake.
Yeah.
There's big boats, bigger boats than should be on the lake,
Yep.
you're just like, this is a.
And it is a tremendous courtesy on the part of the town to accept this.
Yeah.
Right,
This
because,
venture.
well, that's the point with as you said, one thing you pointed out, and with the bigger boats that shouldn't be out there, that's where, unfortunately, it's not gonna happen because it's spread out, but the DEC should be out there. They're the enforcement.
So I'm trying to create that link.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
The sheriff still patrol as well?
Well, I'm trying to get through to Dave Reynolds, Sheriff Reynolds, to see if they still haul their county boat. They still have one.
Okay.
Yep.
They used to be out
Every department is down a number of employees, so I don't know if it's still active or not.
And I think the more institutionalized this position becomes, because, and again, thank you to the Rickards for all they've done, but, hiring someone, a new person, I think will have a new perspective on it. And I would not be surprised if we're sitting here in 2 years and we say, it has to be a peace officer.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss. I can't enforce what I need to enforce. You need to make that next step forward. But maybe at that point, we'll also have identified someone who's perfect for peace officer training, and we'll have.
There may even be people in the pipeline now, Dick, that have an interest.
Yes,
Good.
yes. And also, I'm contacting right now if I can, that's why I'm not trying to ignore everybody, but trying to find out if the sheriff's department does have a boat.
Yeah.
Well, we have a boat they can use if they want to come patrol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but I'm just saying if it's something they've been doing,
Right.
if it's something that we can get them out one day a week or something
Right.
like that.
So we're good?
Yeah.
Getting a start?
Yeah.
Oh, you're up again. Let's move on to discuss town, village, parks.
Yeah.
And bathrooms. Well,
I don't know what else to say about that, Derek.
well, to Fred's point.
Yeah, really.
We've only talked about
Whatever
this
workshop.
once. Yeah.
So, I mean, the discussion has gone, it actually has originated in many places, but I'm just naming a few. One was with, Jackie, Kelly, and myself talking about, well, which came through Development Commission, how come the town doesn't have, we have a park district, why aren't we maintaining all parks and playgrounds? And village taxpayers pay park district taxes. So I said that we used to, I don't know what happened. And maybe we have now some history of what happened, but I think it's time to reevaluate that relationship because I think that parks and playgrounds have been a little bit forgotten because everyone's been busy. And so I don't necessarily have, well, let's talk about them separately, not touching on the bathroom part. So I think that we should try to do like a pilot year of the town park district maintaining the village parks and playgrounds and see how it works on both sides and then maybe come up with a more formalized agreement. And it would, in my opinion, be covered under park district, or if we needed to, we could dip into CTEF funds, because I think this fits well within how the county would define tourism enhancement. I mean, it's green space, it's what the public is seeing and recreating on.
Does the park district have the staff?
Well, if we do the 2 new full-time.
Yeah.
And then the village has the part-time mower, which potentially we could bring on
If he, that's it, if he wants to continue it. Yeah,
as a park district. I mean, I think we would be
You'd be
happy to
park
take him
district,
as a park
right.
district staff.
right.
So it's all under the same umbrella.
Okay.
And then I guess this is part of the pilot program, right? Like, what if those guys come back to us and they say, no, we need another full-time seasonal because we cannot maintain all of them. I mean, the village adds a significant amount to it because there's green spaces and so there probably should be some sort of MOU for a pilot year. I don't know who would write that. Or maybe we can just take with the beach contract.
Do you still have that
Or
folder?
I put it back in there.
There may be an old agreement in there.
Yeah.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, would that be, I would say the village should have an MOU with us, since
Yes,
they're
it's their
doing
property.
the,
We're performing a service for them.
Keep in mind that all the parks are within the park district.
correct.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That's what I think, to Emily's point, makes it feasible. And the funding source should come from us in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause like I said, I don't know when that was, but for a long time, I thought that's the way it was. And then I saw it being mowed by the village and things like that.
In basic
Those
terms,
guys.
all I can tell you is that when it ended, it was due to the year that the 2% property tax cap was initiated. It put restraints on money flow on park district. And that's been since 2013.
Okay.
I will say and I've said this before, but we do need to hold some staff more accountable. Perhaps having the lifeguards go around picking up papers and things like that. I'll be happy to buy them pickers so they don't have to bend over. But,
To the tune of multitasking.
well, it's even single task. Right, so,
And how many times a day do you walk your dog? You can check on it multiple times a day.
But, when you get onto bathrooms, we're looking for that periodic check. It'd be nice to have a guard walk up by the swing sets and just,
Right.
And
something's out of sorts.
The system now is I take pictures and send them to Zach.
And there's nothing that says when we could come up with, for the lifeguards, a modified job description. It's in there.
Yeah.
You agreed to it, you agreed to take the position for our lifeguard, and we're paying you whatever, that's part of your job this summer. We've modified it.
For the most part, it's very few where you get a refusal, but I think you can lead by, what's the saying?
Example.
By example.
But
Yeah.
that's the thing, but it's also the converse. Once one of them says no,
Yeah.
more of them say no.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So if one of them says no, well, I'm sorry, but that's in your job description.
It sounds like we have a
Keep your job.
pretty consistent presence now that can keep an eye on it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's a good point, Rick, though. So do you want to, the only thing that we've talked about in bathrooms is trying to find a cleaning company or.
And the village has successfully secured someone so they are a private contractor.
Oh, they have?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I said, do they want to clean the beach too? And Jackie was gonna ask him, but I don't know.
Oh,
if
so that's in motion?
I mean, I don't think they do. I think they're very happy with the 2 bathrooms cleaning now.
Can we outbid them?
It's Minnie's parents.
No.
Yeah, it's Minnie's
Yeah.
parents.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, hey, if they're here, they can do these too, and we pay them more.
Isn't there an old saying, doesn't money talk?
That's fine.
Are the beach house bathrooms hosable as well?
There's drains on those floors.
So they're
Whether or
hosable,
not the
squeegee,
drains
and-
work, I mean, when you go in there though, you would think the drains don't work because there's so
There's
much
well, sand.
water and sand.
Yeah.
And
Zach
so,
does have to put pressure bags in them and blow them out. Yeah,
Okay.
the bathroom speech is just, if we can find someone to contract out with to clean, it's not just beach house, right? It's,
but I proposed this in our interviews with 2 new applicants tomorrow for Park District and with, our remaining Park District employees, that until we find that service, it still falls on them
Oh, yeah.
on a rotating basis. One person should have to assume those duties.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
your duties are wide.
Yeah. Do we need to beat that horse to death anymore?
no, I guess, do we still want to try, like, as I'm putting ads in the paper, do we want, for the lake constable, do we want to try and put an ad in the paper for like an RFP for a private cleaner to come and clean? I mean, is it just Beach House? Is it Beach House Craigwood? Horse show. Although we
No,
don't.
No, we,
No,
Horse show- Horse show has
They
their
take
own.
care of themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
and Craigwood is still under Terry.
Okay, so it's really
Just
just
the
Beach
beach
House. Okay,
And maybe they're interested in doing it.
and if not, should we advertise for it?
Get anybody,
I think you might.
but I mean, they read the paper.
I put it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Or
I'll have
we-
Adrian put
You
it
can
on
put it in the.
You can put it on-
Sorry, the dinosaurs.
Yeah, we can put it on Indeed too.
That's for all applicants.
I know, that's the thing, yeah.
And I mean, basically, it would just be someone we'd be paying for 2 hours of work every day. If we
How
could
many
get-
times?
I know. I think
Twice?
If they were here, we could get them to come back
Twice a day.
twice a day.
Well, that's the thing, if they were interested in it, the party the village has, they could do these, do them,
And come back.
and come back and do them again, when they're done. Just, I mean,
We gotta
that'd be a
get-
perfect world, but whatever.
Well, we'll say a little prayer.
Now, if you know, I'm sure you do, is the village with their bathrooms once a day clean? Or twice a day?
No, I believe it's once a day, but I'm just thinking it through. I'm like, I wonder, they might have an agreement where it's not 7 days a week and the village highway is still taking care of a couple days. Because I don't imagine that the same 2 people would want to work 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The highway does it in the morning, correct?
These people will be taking.
They'll be doing that.
Yeah, but maybe only 5 days a week instead of.
Right.
Highway does the other 2.
Because that's the thing, if, depending how long it takes them, or multiple times a day, this would fill in the time. And they get paid for it, they get paid for downtime.
I'll stop in and see. Maybe tomorrow.
Okay,
Good. Now to my favorite part of the meeting. ARPA.
ARPA funds.
Yeah. Pickleball. Highway has helped us out in grading, getting set up and ready for sod. Once the sod farm is ready, which is generally end of this month, early June. Well, when the ground temperature gets to where the roots can adhere. And we're in need of a little spur water line from the edge of irrigation toward the pickleball courts, which is called a quick disconnect. So you can hook hoses into that line so we can run sprinklers on the new sod. I talked with our irrigation contractor that put everything in today and explained to him that Rick has done all the research on our water fountains now, so that if we decided and we planned for it, we could pour a little pad and put a outdoor one, maybe those ones that come out for the winter. Anyway, he said it's no big deal. He is gonna be here sometime next week. Will call me when he's coming and I'll track some of you guys down or whatever, see if you can meet him.
So to run, are we going to run a line all the way to that area? Or just a quick disconnect, and then whatever?
Chris from Northeast Irrigation.
Thank you.
Yep.
if you picture where the pickleball courts are and go straight out to the fields, which would put you kind of in the middle of the fields.
Hmm.
I picture hooking on to one of those 1-inch lines there and going perpendicular pretty close. It would probably be right about where fencing is gonna
Well,
go.
that's my point.
Yeah.
I want it, the disconnect has to be on that side of the fence.
Right, yeah,
That's the point, because, well, right about the tree line, or what's left of it,
yeah,
that's probably, just a little, right about there is a good place for the disconnect.
exactly. Yep.
About where the lumber is.
Yeah, just right about the lumber, and then you got the tree line right there.
Okay.
Which will be, the fencing will be probably, if you want to use the lumber as a reference, just this side of the lumber.
Yeah.
That's where the fence will go.
Airport side?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, it'll go back and from the existing fence gate
Mhm.
back to just about where the cutout ends.
Okay.
Yeah, just to give a little separation.
So naturally, this wasn't just a description, this is an appeal for some money. The water line won't be much at all.
That's 45
Yeah.
I'm watching.
It didn't take me long to get to it.
No, it didn't.
Wait,
Yeah.
I also have more money that I think we need to discuss about pickleball. It's just that I think we need porta potties there.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah,
And usually.
At least one.
Usually there's one out there this weekend. He pretty much keeps a couple out there in high times, but there's one out, there's a lacrosse thing the other night,
yeah, there's one there now,
and.
but it'd be
there's one
nice to
there.
have one over on that.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
I think there should be one closer to the,
You want that to come from ARPA or just from our budget?
I mean, how much are they?
100, no, the sinks are 125 a month.
I don't think you even need a sink.
Yeah, just the
No.
sanitizing.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know the price.
It doesn't make any difference.
It's a-
It-
We can probably just do a budget adjustment.
Yeah, and
I
they're,
think that would be.
and they're clean weekly.
Yeah, but I need another $1,000 on
Water line.
sod.
Oh, and
How
stuff.
far are you gonna go? I went out and looked at the other day. So you're standing on the first pickleball court facing
Yeah,
the woods.
yeah.
You're gonna go all the way out the side to the tree line?
I wanted it, you know, where the nets were all piled?
Yeah.
Between pickleball and toward the dump?
Yep.
I wanted, my plan is to use half of that in driveway.
Okay,
So that when cars pull in, there's a huge L. So 2 to 4 cars can pull in and park. And then anybody that wants to leave can back up and tee and get out. Then that leaves basically parking that would be right behind the 2 pickleball courts. Then the back of the beach volleyball courts
Mhm.
would be sod.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. Because I'm not saying.
and sod all the way around the other way.
Well, for one thing, when you pull in, there's gonna be a gate there.
Yeah,
I mean, we can leave it open, but we can also, it's available to lock. Because we've already said to C&E, they've ordered a gate right there to the entrance off the parking lot.
yeah,
To that. So, because we weren't sure if we wanted people pulling in, but if you feel that there's enough room in there to park,
yeah,
I believe there is.
yeah,
Plus, it's wide enough, you can actually park even along it. too.
exactly.
So, yeah, but there will be a gate there that we will leave open, but if we need to close it, it'll be there.
That's good.
If they're having any, like, beach volleyball round robin tournaments or something, it might be a good idea.
Yeah, to close it off and just
Close
let
it
them
off.
walk in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that gate will be, they can walk around it, they'll be able to walk around it. And in the existing gate there now, next to the buildings, they can walk in there and walk around the fence.
That's right.
Yeah.
So actually, what I'm looking for is 1,500 to add to that line item for pickleball courts.
Wasn't it just 1,000?
That, listen. we got-
Interest. 5 minutes of interest.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to see if we're listening or what?
Yeah. Did I mention that there's 4 loads of sand going in on, to freshen up beach volleyball?
Okay. I assume it's from Rhode Island.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It's $85 a yard. Yep.
Good.
So let's move on. Craig Wood,
We'll be up to 2,000.
Yeah.
Let's revisit the pickleball.
Yeah.
I only need 2,000.
Craig Wood dishwasher. You all know the story of that. It went down. Matt has found 2 units, under the counter units at $5,700 a piece. Much better than 11,000.
Last meeting, 55.
Yeah. Yeah. I did have a visit from Joe Kempa today, who's still concerned about getting a dishwasher at Horse Show. I told him he's second on the list because we gotta get Craigwood up and running.
But Matt said they do have the 2 under counter ones, or he's not sure.
That's what Chelsea told me today. I'm waiting for confirmation tomorrow.
Okay.
Because Joe did bring me another rep out of Burlington that has a much bigger unit.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's in progress.
Okay.
There's no need to move on this tonight, but I'd like you to all consider some of the ARPA money as a donation toward rail trail.
Yeah.
North Elba is going to be by far the biggest benefactor to that trail with the plans for the big parking lot down at Historical Society. And if I read things right, did they sell the Open Institute a good share of that property?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did. This family went through.
I think it's going to be exciting for snowmobiling and cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, everything.
They were giving Ray Brook candidates.
What's that?
Ray Brook too is a huge contractor.
Listen,
Yeah.
Conquer it out on the golf course. You know?
and sneak right down through the campground.
Yeah.
Which brings up another thing for the rail trail. We still have an opening. Rick has offered basically to serve in my place as a board rep, and we still have a business rep to appoint. You had mentioned one of the other bike places may be interested, but you're in contact with them too, aren't you?
I'm waiting for Kenny to get off vacation.
Okay.
Sure he is.
That just seems like the other logical.
Yeah, it does.
Sure.
Unless we could think of, but a snowmobile rep, but I feel like they have a pretty heavy snowmobile rep, like we don't have snowmobile necessarily business.
Well, that's the
But-
thing, we don't.
But isn't, what's his
No,
name?
but we have,
He's on the board.
Yeah, I'm gonna say everyone's on the board. I know, I'm blanking on the name too, but yeah, he's on the board already.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Is it Jim?
Jim,
Okay.
yeah,
No.
McCullough.
McCullough.
yeah.
And
That's,
so,
that's who, when you say snowmobiles, that's who I would think of, but he's
Yeah.
already there.
and so, if we're allowing for 2 businesses and we have High Peaks represented, I think it would be good to have.
Okay, I spoke with Kenny just briefly and he was interested, but he actually said he dropped my name to the rail trail. So.
But we wouldn't choose to have you as a business rep.
No.
You'd be better off as, and if I remember right, it's a shared position?
Not the business.
No, the board
Yes,
members.
yeah.
So, either you'd attend a meeting or you'd attend a meeting.
I don't want to step on your toes.
And do you get the emails?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can just tell me what to do, if anything.
Yeah, and I actually don't know if we're not supposed to attend the same meeting, or if you can always have 2 board members attend, but only one can vote.
That's right.
You can always have 2 members attend, but only one can vote.
You're exactly right. One vote, both can attend.
So I don't think it hurts to have both of
Oh,
us
I think it
attend.
would be advantageous to be
Well,
there.
yeah, it's like what we do with the leave committee. I mean, MJ and Jim usually both attend, have one vote.
Okay. So anyway, put it in the back of your minds for maybe a donation. That'll help them out. It is pretty impressive. Have you noticed how wide? It's like
Oh,
9
yeah.
to 10 feet wide. And it's really gonna be a base far and above what I
Yeah,
expected.
Kuberki's they're doing a really good
Yeah.
job.
The rocks this winter, I actually did go snowmobiling on it, and it was terrible, like the spinning.
I
of
heard
the
it
rocks.
was.
So next item, Mirror Lake Watershed. Bill Billerman is actually on.
Okay.
And he appealed to us for some help last meeting.
Right, and
Since then, we have allocated $3,000 in our current budget. So I'm knocking on the door to say, let's help them out a little bit more and take some from ARPA funds.
So we do already have 3,000.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and to give you a little update, because we had talked about it with Sandy here and everything like that, and as a matter of fact, I saw her today. I went back and I contacted Dave Kristen with Iron Man,
Yep,
and the information that these guys had was incorrect and Sandy had was incorrect. Not her fault, that, they are still contributing to local organizations.
good.
And so I went back and forth with Dave a little bit, and the bottom line was about a week or 10 days ago, Sandy did contact Dave directly on behalf of the watershed, and said that, I had given her the information, and she wrote a very nice email, and he wrote one back, a quick email back recognizing the email, and where it could go from there, I don't know. But so that's the process, because we had said that we're willing to step up. However, if Iron Man does kick in some,
Right.
comes off ours.
Bill, can you bring us up to date on things?
Oh, you're still muted,
You're muted,
Bill.
Bill.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Okay, there we go.
As of today, we have a $5,000 contribution. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Everything went blank on the screen. So we have a $5,000 contribution from the Eline Foundation. We have a $5,000 contribution from the Village of Lake Placid. We have your $3,000. We have the possibility of $2,500 from the Ironman Foundation through a special local grant that Greg Borzilleri has kind of put the good word out for. So we are probably about in the ballpark of $15,500 towards the $26,000 that it would cost to have a steward at the beach for 7 days from 7:30 to 4. So we are looking for additional funding. If we can get an extra $3,000 from the town, that would help a lot. We will be putting in some of our contribution money that we get from our donations. And moving forward, we do think that some of the people or some of the organizations that need to step up is definitely Ironman, because they are invested in using the lake. So I'd like to see if the village and town, and I asked Mayor Devlin to do this also, if when future discussions come up with the Ironman group, that they are pushing for to get better prevention for Mirror Lake, that they can contribute and help us so that the steward program can be done on an annual basis. So as of right now, that's where we are, 15,500. We have to apply for the 2,500 from the Ironman Foundation, which we'll be doing. We also found out that the Cloud Splitter Foundation did not fund our request, but they are getting a lot of requests for a lot of different organizations, and ours was not one of the ones that got funding from them. So that was not available to us this year. Sandy did get a letter back, or to get an email back from Dave Christian, and Dave did basically say that the way for us to get any additional funding from Ironman was to basically get a volunteer group together so that the captain can then designate any funds we get as a volunteer group towards the steward program. And our point of view is that we volunteer to do the whole, to protect the lake on a whole, and that's what we do as volunteers to help them, to help Ironman, to help the village, to help the town in protecting the lake. I don't think it's something that we should do in order to for Ironman to help fund the lake, the steward program for the lake.
Bill, let's not forget to mention all the store owners motels, hotels that use the lake as a primary or a principal advertising agent, so.
Yeah, what we do is every year we do, as part of our annual, annual letter, we ask for people to donate. We send them to the businesses. We send it to the actual shore owners around Mirror Lake and to the general public. So we do stress in our goals to continue the Steward program so that they can contribute to our overall funding. So we do reach out to get funding for our overall budget, and we are planning on putting a portion of that budget into the Steward program. But I do think it's more than we can handle. It definitely is more expensive than we can do. We're a small organization. We do get contributions, but we do like to see if the actual people who will use the lake and invest in the lake should be the ones who help fund a program like this.
Thank you, Bill.
It's also, like Rick said, many of the hotels, particularly
A
on
lot of
the
user
lake,
groups.
I mean, they're not only using it, they're using that water, that body of water to make money. Sure. So they should be theoretically, giving it back, some of it.
So in moving forward, I'd like to respectfully ask the board to consider doubling our contribution and grabbing $3,000 from ARPA funds. And I think that's in line with what the village does. And I realize that doesn't get them to where they need to be, but I think proportionate speaking, that's a good
Yeah, I
representation
think
of
so.
the town.
Yeah, I think, and we should somehow, and I don't have an answer to this, as the government, as a municipal board, along with the village board, encourage somehow these businesses to contribute also. I don't know exactly.
I
how to do
agree.
that,
And
but-
in our subsequent meetings with Iron Man, I won't forget to put in a good word for Watershed.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I usually email with Dave on various things, at least every other month or something like that, and I'll keep on them.
And Bill, don't hesitate to reach out if we can further discussion on getting an alternative to the Paul Smith stewards and a more economical approach to the
Yeah,
stewardship,
sure.
such as training our own people or your own people.
Well,
I've
actually,
got-
you did just mention that as part of your, as far as the lifeguards for the beach. Are you putting in any job descriptions for them that they can approach boat owners when the steward isn't there, or spread some information to just hop in and help out at some point with any boats that are entering the lake when the steward isn't there. That would be helpful. The other thing with the lifeguards and the people who work at the beach, we have noticed that last year there was a lot of problem with and this is off topic, but I wanted to throw it in there, with the goose droppings that are on the rafts and the dock. Instead of sweeping them into the lake, they should be collected. I know it's not a job that anyone would want to volunteer for, but it's something that is important to try and alleviate the lake from the bacteria from the geese getting into the lake. If that can be pushed forward for your cleanup in the morning at the beach to be done, because overnight is when they sit on the docks and leaves their droppings on the docks and the floats. But also getting back to the funding for the program, is there any possibility that in the future the standards for LEAF can be changed for programs like this that need support on an annual basis?
I can't really respond to that.
I can't either.
I think as things evolve, Bill, that's a possibility, but I know to date, Leaf determines a lot of funding by the fact of others that are involved in the effort. So it doesn't mean that they wouldn't want to be a consistent contributor. I think maybe the proof is in the pudding by showing that you have other users that look at it the same way. I guess that's my best way of beating around the bush.
Well,
Yeah.
an even shorter answer though is that I think the county does not say that you couldn't do that.
That's right.
It's Leaf that says that you can't do that.
We're not bound by the county that says no. It is more the current system.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, because we are limited on funds, and obviously we always get,
Repeat.
we always get repeats, we always get requests, we get applications for much more dollar amount than we have.
Yeah,
And that's going to be a bigger factor now.
sure.
And you kind of have to look at it and say, okay, we funded you last, I'm not saying, I'm not picking on one organization with Bill Beers or anybody's, but we found the money last year and we we didn't fund this one. This is a good application this time, so we're going to fund this one. Unfortunately, we can't fund them all, and we can't fund them all fully. Once in a while, we can fund some fully.
Right.
But I just think like I said, it's going to get more restricted now.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, it'd be nice to have funds and say, okay, 10 organizations come to us every year, or we only get 10 applications every round. No, we get 20, 30 applications every round. And so it depends upon the situation.
Yep.
And we do appreciate that you do a good job with looking at the applications and directing the funding towards qualified applications. And it really helps to use that money for the community. And it's something that is definitely beneficial to the community. I do think that I just want to put the plug in for an important program that I feel is imminent. If we don't do something about it, that we're going to have a problem with Mirror Lake. So
Totally agree, Bill.
The plug is there, Bill. I got you.
All right. So anyway, you were successful tonight in $6,000.
Yes, thank you.
Will you send me an email requesting the funds? That's just a kindly reminder so that I can get that to Kathy when she returns from vacation.
Okay. And what is the ARPA funds? I don't know what that is.
ARPA, it's federal COVID relief money.
Okay. Okay, I'll send it to you, Darren. Thank you.
Before we
Thanks,
move on, I am embarrassed because I forgot my manners right in the beginning of this meeting. I'm going to let you introduce her because that's your gal.
But you have already met her.
Yeah, but
But
we
everybody
have
else.
people there, and I'm not sure
Oh.
Fred has met her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, I introduced her to Lauren too.
Yep.
Yeah, so Adrienne Rallier is my new deputy. And I'm very excited that she's here. So Andy, if you're on, Adrienne Rallier is my new deputy.
I talked to Andy earlier. Yeah.
And confidential secretary to me.
Yes.
So far, she keeps a good secret.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, welcome aboard,
you.
Andrew. Okay, next up is North Elba Cemetery. As you remember from the previous meeting, we had Brendan Mills. Kind of as a follow-up to that, I've had conversations with Mr. Greg Furness, who has been in the direction of finding let's see what they call them, a conservator.
So I saw this email and I was a little thrown off about it. Is it about rehabbing old graves?
Yes,
That's what I-
it's
that's what I
taking
thought.
these ones that are
Not,
Just-
it doesn't relate to,
just John Brown's
Oh, just his.
just John Brown's.
Okay.
And
Well,
But
that,
John Brown's is,
no, it's John Brown's collective in there, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not John Brown's, obviously.
yeah.
It's his area. Yeah, let's say area.
Is that on the left as you're pulling?
yes, the
Yes,
first
yes.
section.
It's fenced in, isn't there?
Yeah.
And there are 16 monuments
Is that what it is?
involved.
Okay,
One that's called an obelisk, is that the right term?
yeah.
It's a
Uh,
murder weapon often.
yeah.
Right? It is. A movie or something.
Anyway, I just received this the other day, and the estimate, and that, this is the reason that I put it under ARPA funds. It is an estimate for $1,850 to take care of all those stones.
This falls under county, is that what you're talking about?
No, under ARPA.
Oh, okay, I
Yeah.
thought you were gonna say CTEF, because it's, remember he said, can you use it for septic?
Oh, yeah.
Only if it's a tourist.
Yeah. Maybe I'll bring this.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. In any respect, here's where I'm going with this.
He's repairing all the old stones. This is all the old cemetery.
Well, only
Yes.
16 of them.
Just the 16, just the John Brown related stones.
Right.
Yep,
I think that's a good price for restoring.
I think so too.
it is.
Again, the legwork I did, the research I did in restoring this stuff, I think that's a very good price.
Yeah, and it's, because it's the town, they were, put it this way, if it comes to anything above this Greg Furness said, I'll cover up to $500 on anything over.
Okay.
He is so appreciative that the town recognizes John Brown efforts, that,
But there's more than just those 16 in the old cemetery that could use rehab. If we
Oh,
think he
yeah.
does a good job and this is a good price, could we talk
Oh,
about doing
exactly.
more?
exactly.
And it seems like there's, again, this is a Haley question. There's got to be money out there. Somehow,
Yeah,
through the VA or whatever.
So I want to look for grant money to redo the chapel,
right.
Yeah.
into a real chapel.
I got you. No, I
And
mean, there's,
Columbarium.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
okay. Yeah, there's got to be something out there, whether it be federal or whatever. I just believe there is.
Yeah,
And also there's, again, in my research, there's organizations, and I don't know any locally, but I'm just saying there are organizations across the country that do this, on their own. They just do it on their own.
Charitable.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
have
I mean,
one.
it's an important part of history and they're kind of being forgotten.
Well, you take like,
I mean, the whole thing, but in particular John Brown, but
when I was growing up, where I grew up, they had a big Daughters of the American Revolution chapter, DAR. And they would go in and they would pay for certain parts of the local cemetery to clean that. So there's one organization that, whether it even be the American Legion.
so you guys feel okay with this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll call Greg tomorrow. Last but not least, at least under ARPA discussion, I met for our first report on the town hall. As you remember, the original bid was like $292,000, $292,663. In walking around, we had a couple major problems. One was, I don't know if you remember, to the left of the chimney, where whenever gutters fill up too much or snow's melting or whatever, heavy rainstorms wash over that corner, and the bricks underneath that top window were bowed right out, probably almost the length of a brick, and they were still held together. When they tore that all apart, the water damage had ruined all of it. To make a long story short, what a contractor did years and years ago when we took out 8-foot windows and changed them to like 5-foot. I should have taken a picture to show you. They tore the brick underneath, tore it down to where they thought the window should go, and they framed up a wooden framed wall that wasn't even intact. They were like individual sticks going up to the window. That 15 inches to the inside wall had to be totally rebuilt. So in meeting Mr. Lapini, he said, listen, we've done inspections on everything. He said, originally, I thought I wanted to sell you cast windowsills. In other words, all the bricks that are lined up under the window come out. He wanted to have precast cement, but he said, now that I know there's 15 inches to the inside wall, there's really not the bracing there. And you don't want to pay me to build that whole thing up on the inside. So he said, I think we have to go back to brick like it was, repoint everything, all new, it'll be, original. And the credit you will receive for those cast windowsills should take care of this major renovation under the window. What it boiled down to is our total credit was $55,000 for what he was going to change, resulting in a $3,000 credit overall. So now our total is down around $289,000. That just addresses those two issues. Then we went around to this side of the building. You remember when we had to dig up the front here because of water in the judges' chambers, thinking that it was coming off the sidewalk and getting in the footer? It's getting behind this long steel beam.
Okay.
Getting behind windows, going down the wall. So they are picking away behind every window to see how many need rebuilding. Before they do that, they have to determine if the lintel or the piece of steel that's over each window is separate. If it's separate, we're golden. Then the good windows don't need to be changed. That's what's being determined over the next couple of weeks. So that's my polite way of telling you. This is the research part of the project. So if there's major stuff to be done, I'll be knocking at the door next year with another $150,000. But this building's been neglected for 80 years. Not neglected, but just no one's.
The upkeep hasn't been to par.
I was talking with the foreman out there one day, and he was explaining that to me. And he said, it's just, especially with brick, people don't take care of it.
Yeah.
They think, there it is. It's there forever.
Yeah.
It's a rock, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Appreciate that.
Okay. Quick update on Raybrook Water and our production wells. Bill Frey will be here May 15th to start those production wells. We are on, not really a hold because we couldn't get Frey here until then anyway, but our actual contract on this deal with the state had run out in December, and Ivan had actually asked for an extension last October. We just got it within the last week from Keith Rupert. Actually came right from the comptroller's office, and we're good until September 31st. So if we can't find water by September 31st, the meetings will get a lot longer. Yep. I think that's about all we really have to cover tonight. You all got budget adjustments?
Yep.
Now I'm looking them over, trying to think.
I have one more, well, I was just gonna talk about assessments, but.
Well, I want to get to committee reports. Is that where you want to do it, or do you want to
I
go
just
now?
want to do it at some point when Lauren is still here.
We'll do it right now.
Yeah, because I wanted, thank you, because we talked about that, yeah.
Listening. Oh, and Andy's on.
Take good notes. Take good notes.
So I don't know how to, I wish I had a magic communication toolkit where I could reach everyone who is questioning their assessment or was concerned about their assessment. But we know that people don't read the paper, so I don't know how else to get this out to them. But the assessment, the standard rate for residential assessment, the percentage to increase was 18% generally across the board. That's what it averaged out to. Because we are adding volume to our tax roll, meaning.
$461 million.
Yeah, meaning there's more properties to, more houses to assess, and, you know, we're spreading out the burden and adding to properties that are contributing to the tax bill. So if you, among other things, if you factor all those things into place, Todd says the break-even point is 13%. Were you here for workshop?
Yes.
With that?
Well, they changed it from workshop.
But say slowly, what do you say?
No, Todd said, I just want to be, there was the three of us talking today, okay? Todd said originally 13.46. And he says that's gone down, and Deb piped up and said, we're using 13%.
Yeah, I've been
That's
telling
where
you
that came
13.
from, 13.
Yeah, I've been communicating via text 13%.
The same thing, yes.
And so if the break-even point is 13%, so if you took on your new assessment, if you took those numbers and it was 13% or less, you're not going to see an increase in your tax. Even if your assessment went up 13%, you will not see an increase in your tax bill. If it is more than 13%, and theoretically, if you didn't change anything about your house, it should not go up more than 5% because 18% is the standard for residential. If you have an older house, it probably was more around the 13% range. If you have a newer house, it's probably in that 18% range. So the only change in assessment will be in terms of that reflects directly to, I don't know why I'm looking at you because you're looking at me. I know you understand this, but the only change will be in that 5%.
Yeah. Well, that's okay, in the conversation with the three of us, she's looking at me the whole time, so that's okay.
Well, Todd and I
know.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, but in Todd, and I understand where Todd is coming from. I'm like, can you just tell me how it computes to, like, if a taxpayer is asking me real numbers? And he said, Emily, I can't do that. I can't, I don't put yourself in a box because you don't, the two of the factors that are out there are, one, we don't know what our 2024 budget is, right? And so until we have a 2024 budget, we don't know what and then a final roll. So those two pieces.
Which sets the tax rate.
Yeah, so
Right.
those two pieces need to come together, final roll and 2024 budget. Those two pieces come together and I can give people, we can all give people a real
Yes.
answer of what that translates to dollar amounts. But I think what's important to keep in mind is that 13% is the break-even point. And so basically you can take 13% off of that increase, and that's a more realistic reflection of what your assessment in terms of how you're relating it back to increased
Right.
taxes. Did I
that
explain that?
makes sense.
No,
Yeah.
that makes it.
Yep.
I talked to a local,
Yep.
after we talked, I talked to a local attorney I just ran into, and that office has been getting a number of calls from their clients
To agree with.
to grieve it. And so I gave him these approximate numbers, and he says, good, that helps. And that's your point, via you, Lauren and Andy, these people, if they knew it, and if they've got a 5% assessment increase, don't worry about it.
Well, I don't think you can say don't worry about it, because I think people with limited budgets, they want to know.
Well,
But
yeah,
you're just
they wanna
saying,
know, but in general.
it doesn't reflect that into that much dollar value
Right.
in reality.
No, it doesn't.
But I can't really tell you what that dollar value is without final roll.
It could be
and without
$4 per
2024.
thousand, it could be.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's decimals.
Right,
Decimals on a mill rate.
right.
And so it depends on the value of your house and,
Depends on us too.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
well, it
mean,
does.
But I guess I'm just saying, like, so maybe for someone who has like a $200,000 assessment, it might only be $100 more a year.
Right.
But for someone who has a $10 million assessment, it might mean $10,000.
Right.
So I guess it's all relative.
It is.
Well, it is, and it's like anything else. If you're over budgeted, you're over budgeted. But, anyway, as an individual, but no, I've been thinking about that too, so thank you for bringing it up. We need to get the word out.
But so as a board, and I don't know if we want to try and I don't know if a public meeting is appropriate. I feel like there might just be a lot of anger, so maybe that's not the right.
We aren't the appropriate department to address this. Because even though you addressed it pretty clearly, it isn't as clear as what Todd and that board of review can do.
Okay, so maybe Lauren and Andy, what I'll ask is for Todd to write something.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
That
A public
explains
notice.
it.
A public
And he's
notice.
done that before.
Yes. That helps explain what I just said,
It's a great idea.
but in data,
So if I wasn't in on these conversations,
you'd be lost.
my assessment went boom, and it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, same here, but
Yeah, well, they went
but
up
still,
over
it's not
18%.
as high as,
right,
I've had two family members call me and go, oh my God, and it's like, relax.
And then, so in the second educational piece, mine is that 13% break-even point is like a key takeaway. And the second educational piece is that New York State mandates that we are at
Yes.
100% of value. And if we do not do that, New York State will come in and do it for us.
That's correct.
And so it's not like we have a choice. It's not like we are saying, put crazy assessments on these properties. They're an accurate reflection of the market.
Right.
And we are required by New York State to have an accurate reflection of the market in our assessment.
Right, Todd doesn't wait 10 years for reval.
Yeah.
We are up to date
Well,
year to
that's
year.
there. And that's the thing, I mean, we come back and I've forgotten the number, but you know, New York State will come in, audit him, basically, and say, you have to be within, I've forgotten the percentage. And if you're not, we'll adjust him. He's given a little bit of leeway, but not a lot.
It's either 4 or
I
5%.
think it's 4. That's
Yeah.
why, that's what they'll give him 4%. And if you're at 6%, they'll redo it.
Lauren, have you covered anyone else since tax rates are out or assessments are out? Harrietstown crying or,
No, we haven't written an assessment story yet.
okay.
We would definitely, that's the point, Lauren, we talked to him, I talked to Emily today, Todd was involved, we talked to Derek and I, we talked to Rick and I, who just, because of the situation and after our workshop last week, when Todd gave us all these numbers, it's like, one of the first things we thought of was, okay, and the things Emily suggested, gave you as far as figures and everything, and information, we want to get it out there.
Just think of an added value of 460 million in 1 year.
That's right. And again, if it's I had one person, I think that they were assessed for right around 200. And, now it jumped, I think it was 16% or something like that. That's a big number. If you've got a $200,000 house, even though that number, if you got somebody in the lake, that number is nothing, but that's a big number. Yeah, and it could scare you where.
Well, it is
again,
scary.
200
When you look at that number, it's scary,
Yeah,
but when you
sure.
have the facts behind it, it's a lot less scary.
Well, that's the thing, and if you've got a $200,000 house, your taxes are whatever it's not something to be, lose sleep over at this point.
But what the,
Depends on who you are.
Well, that's what I mean.
People still pay those taxes in 4 installments because they can't afford.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
Depends on
if
who
you get that letter,
when it changes to a dollar amount, it's more minimal on a smaller.
that's
on a
what I
smaller
mean.
investment.
That's what I mean. So we need to get everything we've talked about here in the last 10 minutes. We need to get Todd to put it like it should be, in his perspective and in proper language, which he can do, and get the word out.
I have a feeling Lauren will call him now. All right, let's go back to budget adjustments. Anything stick out that concerns anyone? We made note of where we're at on ARPA funds as of last time. Interfund transfers are regular, we go through every month. Seasonal employees for beautification, nominal. And then just those couple personnel actions, a flagger, much needed for highway.
Yeah. And he'll do a good job.
It's not me.
You're welcome to if you want.
No, I mean, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the flaggers will be.
Yeah.
When is Shannon going to distribute all our hard hats?
You already got a hard head, don't you?
No, yeah, I know, but if I get hit with something, it's going to be fine, but I guess, I don't want somebody, no names mentioned, driving by me and goes, where's your hard hat?
Yeah.
You're going to get a hard hat.
Listen, I got one right in there on the.
I know, that's
cafeteria.
yours.
Yeah, but I think I passed the baton to you.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, what's that?
Approval of the personal actions and budget adjustments.
Yep.
I
Can
make a
I,
motion that we approve the budget adjustments and the personnel.
second? You got that covered? All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. No one opposed? Carried. We need to approve the audits. Motion by Rick, second by Dick. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Carried. Committee reports. I'm hoping maybe this is your hour just to bring the public up to date on your research on water refill stations.
Based on Lily's presentation at the workshop, I sort of just went ahead and did some research. Unfortunately, the number that she gave us and that company is no longer in existence in Plattsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So what's the closest distributor?
the distributor is out of, the one that I've been speaking to is out of North Carolina, but they actually, I went back and looked at what the fill stations that the Medical Fitness Center put in, that we put in there, and also over in Saranac Lake at the Fit for Life Cardiac Rehab Building. And they were out of this company, Burroughs Commercial Supply. But, so I've given you just some questions, and I don't think these need to be answered now, but it's what I've come up with for the outside units, the inside units. You know, do we want it refrigerated? Do we want it non-refrigerated? Do you want it sensor button or manual fill? Obviously, if these stations are at the beach or on Main Street, there'll be manual fill because some kid will stick his bottle on there and walk away.
Yep.
Also, drinking fountains. Just spoke briefly with Derek, and I don't think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
This price is much better than.
I was gonna say.
What she did, I figured it out,
Okay.
was she multiplied. So she had 3 units for out in the community. So she took the price and multiplied it times 3.
Oh, because that's,
So it was a final
yeah,
cost.
$3,800?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think
Yeah.
this is also doable and
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's low hanging fruit.
For in here in the town hall,
Yeah.
the question is, do you want it refrigerated? Do you want it not to be refrigerated? Obviously, it's going to be filtered. And I haven't spoken with the coordinator of cardiac rehab, but we put one in the annex building over at the hospital, which has been there for a lot of years, lead pipes. I tasted the water that came out of the fountain, and it was close to mud, metallic mud, I called it. And this thing's cleaning it right up. It tastes great.
No kidding.
Okay.
And I put the price of filters down here, and filters,
Yeah.
each filter's 3,000 gallon capacity, and it's about $70 a piece, which is about a quarter of the price that I was given by our guy at the hospital, who said, this is
Okay,
how much
okay.
it costs.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, 3,000 gallons, that's.
Yeah.
A lot of water.
So I guess it's just, the next steps are, I guess, not stepping on the village toes, but where do we want to put these? What do we have for funding? And what questions do we have? And I'll talk to the rep. She's just waiting for me to get back to her on what specific questions do you have?
So I guess my question is, because they're in North Carolina, they just ship and don't serve it?
Correct.
So who is their local service then?
I'll have to, let me do some research.
Yeah, they must have
Yeah.
local contractors.
Yep.
They may not be local, but they're regional contractors.
So we're talking about considering,
One here.
oh, I thought you were pointing to somebody.
No.
Yeah, town
No,
hall.
Well, and you know, we just have to determine what floor we're going to put it on.
I think the first floor makes sense because it's also would be available for public as well. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought.
And everybody
And
comes in.
refrigerated, I hope.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, refrigerated, yeah.
I'm guessing it will go right where the water fountains came out, because the water's there and the drain is there.
Yeah.
And the electricity, were they refrigerated,
Uh,
those units? It's a standard,
we want it refrigerated inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
We love the one at the county. I have one in our office, at the treasurer's office.
A
There's
refill?
that one. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
So that maybe they know the service.
Yeah.
Our maintenance guys just switched the filter out.
Yeah, I think that's
I guess if there was a problem, it's like, that makes me a little bit nervous that if there's a problem, they're in North Carolina.
Right.
But
So I'll check.
There's gotta be,
Check and see.
there's gotta be something. I mean, whether it be Albany, Syracuse.
I'll ask.
So we have no water fountain down at the beach either, do we?
yeah, we have a fill station at the beach.
Oh, really?
Yes, but it is always, you guys, you not have a beach? So-
Not in this town.
If I get the contract, I'll be cleaning the bathroom.
Yeah.
There is it's a fill station, which must have been put in by the village, but the problem is that it's consistently like trickling out. And my go-to maintenance person says it's a village issue. And so then I just don't really. follow
Is
through.
it filtered?
And I think that's what the issue is.
See, that's it, that's it,
Changing
yeah.
filters.
Yeah, but it is consistently.
Has there
trickling
been
out.
ever any initiative to fix it on anybody's part?
Well, I don't like to cross.
I know,
Well, the
we're not
point-
throwing
Well,
anybody
the
under
point
the
is,
bus.
if we determine what brand it is.
Right.
Maybe we can just get a filter for it,
Right,
because that's what it sounds like.
And
Yeah.
maybe it has been rectified to a certain.
tell you what, I'll bring my tool bag over, and while he's walking the dog, we'll rip that thing apart.
Well, you know what would be, so this is like the beach thing, which is optimal instead of, it's inside, right?
Right,
That's not helpful 90% of the time. Okay, maybe 70% of the time. But, because there's people walking around the lake early in the morning, there's people walking around the lake at different, out of season of the beach house.
Right.
So ideally, what makes sense there is a stand.
Is freestanding
is a
one.
freestanding one.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Attached to the building on the outside somewhere.
Yeah,
that gets taken down in the winter.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
what-
yeah,
Because it's these antifreeze that she spoke of
Yeah.
in doing the
It's
research.
North Carolina.
It's North Carolina antifreeze, where they get into, 31, 30 degrees.
That's it. Yeah, it's stable down to 29. Yeah.
And I just read through the instructions on how to install it. And you have to take the pipe down 6 inches below the frost line. And it's like, holy goodness,
They're 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so that's probably the optimal answer is to have it against the building, but freestanding, and then it's pulled out in off-season. Or is it just drained?
Or covered and drained,
It's just
Yeah.
that, like, you could just do that.
drained and covered, sure.
well, all depends where the water, if the water line comes from inside the building out to it, yeah,
Yeah.
that's possible.
Yeah, like, why couldn't you do that?
And mount it to the side of the building, yeah.
But do you want a freestanding one if you're gonna mount it to the side of the building, or just do it?
Well, I
No,
guess
I
that's-
was picturing one of those cabinet things.
Right.
And it was
Oh, yeah,
And then
yeah.
on the outside
So
of the
you
building.
don't want a freestanding.
No, I was confusing.
I was gonna say, if you got a freestanding and you want it,
I just
next
meant
to
that
the
I didn't
building.
want it inside of the building.
okay.
But, yeah, but I guess I've never really seen one that's been mounted to the outside of the building, so that, I don't know.
It'll be the same thing.
Yeah.
It'll be the same thing. Yeah.
So we've identified 2 places.
But that's bringing up the question. If we put one in wall, can we remove it for the winter? Or do we have to, or
No.
just drain it?
Just drain it.
Just drain it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
Because you've got to disassemble it as
Right.
opposed to. Yeah,
right.
okay. Yeah, I mean, then save us some money.
It is the beach house's building, I mean, the village's building, so we do need their permission.
Yeah, and what's nice is our agreement, they'll be paying for 50% of it.
That's right. That's right.
If it's any consolation, the one that's in the treasurer's office doesn't it won't just keep filling.
Oh, it has a sensor, right?
There's a sensor, so I would have to like pull my mug out and then put it back in.
Okay.
Like this size, I'd have to do it twice. So there's no wasteful,
Yeah, that's
just
good.
keep overflowing.
Good.
The only thing I was gonna say about the sensor was that sometimes like the more technology, the more things can break, and that's why I enjoy I think the manual button.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it.
The KISS method?
Yeah, exactly.
So I would opt for push button.
Yep.
manual.
It's like $210 difference.
But it's more that the sensors can break.
Yeah, because
I
that's
don't
the
think
thing.
this button that connects to something.
Well, that's the thing. If you got to replace a sensor, it's
So Rick,
more.
as we talk, are you writing down ideas so you can tell me what to present under ARPA next month?
I think
Yes,
really,
I will have a
really
complete-
up the game on committee reports.
You aren't kidding.
Yeah,
I'm
want
gonna
to
tell
talk
you
about
what,
that?
between the ambulance and this, you're gonna find yourself busy.
I'm gonna put together a PowerPoint presentation.
All joking aside though, really good job.
Now that you're retired, you got all this time, you know? Yeah.
That's it.
But in moving forward, we probably should ask the village if they're okay with this,
Yes.
so that we don't.
I'll touch base and I'll get in and look at that other one and see if it's plumbed, if it's electric, and it's ready to go. Let's find out what's wrong with it.
Yeah, and maybe it has been fixed,
And if it's not, and it's aged out, then
and that could be us.
we replace it.
How long has it been there?
I don't know. I don't even know if I even tried to use it last year because I always have so many problems with it.
That's
Emily always makes it sound like she's the only one who goes to the beach.
I know.
You guys don't-
And she's mighty nasty in the bathroom, to my
Yeah,
knowledge.
really. Yeah, we're never going there.
No, you guys don't spend time at the playground. What are you doing in your spare time?
That's the point.
Ask us about the pickleball.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving right along. Yeah.
Lisa G's for meeting.
That's true.
And forgetting budget, so.
Just pick a time, I'll be there. Already.
To both you guys, Lori did ask me if I wanted to report on our paving bids. I said no until you guys get together with Ken and he wants to report, because I know he's been in conversations with him. I don't really know the end of the story. I think I do, but until he says
That's
or you
fine.
guys say.
Yeah.
Any other committee reports? All right. Andy or Lauren, any questions from the press?
Not for me, thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
The only thing I was gonna ask tonight was whether you guys have heard anything more about the proposed ER closure? Met with Adirondack Health or anything?
No.
No. Since we've had the Zoom meetings and like that, which were in the past,
Trying to think if anything's happened since.
no, they haven't said a thing.
I think the
No.
only communication has still been that they're waiting for more information from Department of Health, or more
I think
feedback
they're-
from Department of Health.
Yeah, I think, they're waiting for the Department of Health, and I believe, I'm not even sure the Department of Health has all their the information they want.
Let us know what they say.
If you didn't get through to somebody that give you answers, pass them on. Yeah, no, it's,
Be quiet.
All right, are we in need of a quick
Yeah, I have
executive session?
one legal thing.
Oh, sorry, Fred, go ahead.
There's an event on Tuesday, May 9th at John Brown Farm, Memorial Field. I don't know if any of you got an invitation. For John Brown Lives event. I think it's 4 to 5 at the Memorial Field. And then there's a free screening in the evening at LPCA of a brand new film that I think is a film of the dance project that they did last year.
Yep.
And it's the Creative Rebuilds artist, Karen Davidson Seward. And the woman who's the new executive director of ADI, Diversity Initiative, I'm blanking on her name. But she is she's also a dance choreographer, so they're both featured because they got this Creative Rebuilds grant, which is something like $65,000 a year for 2 years. It's sort of to really sustain artists and having a real living wage. So anyway,
Good.
It's free and,
and there's a third event to that too.
What's that?
There's a third event to that, whether it be John Brown Day or whatever it is.
That John Brown Day is following Saturday, I
Which
think.
which they're gonna do a feature on Russell Banks.
Yeah, they're honoring
good.
Russell Banks.
Yeah,
That's
honoring Russell,
Saturday.
yeah.
Third Saturday during the day on the 13th.
13th, yes,
Yeah.
13th, yes.
I'll try to remember to forward the invitation to all of you.
And the
Great.
27th, which is Memorial Weekend, Brendan Mills
Yeah.
will be doing the
Do the
thing
stone,
at
yeah.
William Maps.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks, Fred. We are in need of an executive session, so I'll take a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Second, by Rick. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Good night.